Hi, this is a vintage aircraft altitude transducer. So as you can see, this thing is quite large. The length of this thing is 6.5 inches, and the diameter of the main stuff is 4 inches approximately. So you have a marking here, but I cannot read. Maybe it is a date, but I'm not sure. This is a front marking. So this thing is called altitude control. This was made by Smith. There is nothing in the modification plate, as you can see. So on the holder, on the bottom side, there is the input static pressure here, and a round connector with 6 terminals here. But as you can see, only 5 are used. And this thing is mounted on 4 shock absorbers here. They are a bit smooth. I think they have known better days. So let's open this thing to see what is inside. I don't know if there is only a potentiometer and a mechanical multiplication, or if it is a servo control loop. We will see. So I will start by removing this tube. Okay. So the diameter of this thing is exactly 8 millimeters. So it is similar to the Smith altitude indicator of my previous video. So I can use the same system in order to test this thing. So I will remove the cylinder main stuff from the holder. I will just have to unscrew this thing. So this thing is secured. I will try. Oh, it's not very difficult. Okay, so there is a ground connection here. So now I need to remove this connector. So this will be a bit difficult, I think. The two others are difficult to access. I will try with a screwdriver to lock the nut, but I'm not certain it will work. We try with this tool. Okay. The last one will be more difficult. There is no space. So one more time I will use a screwdriver in order to lock the nut. So you can see that the nut is here. And it's very difficult to access. But I think we need to remove this thing and use a tool, but it is difficult, so I will try to lock the nut with this screwdriver. And use another one to unscrew. And the screw is rotating at the same time, so it's difficult. Even if I remove this holder, there will be the shock absorber there, which cannot be removed, which will prevent using a tool in that direction. So this is very painful. But maybe I can remove this part of the connector. Let's see. I'm not sure. I don't think it's a good idea. But at least there is a little bit more space. I don't understand this design. I will try with these pliers. I think this is impossible to remove. I need a special tool for that, but I don't have that dimension. It is very annoying. I don't want to spend 1 hour to remove one screw. Okay, so I think this thing will be better. Okay, so now we have to remove all these screws here. Okay, so let's see what we have inside this thing. Okay, so we have a dual capsules, 4 exactly. So the capsules provide a torque on this shaft here. So this torque is transmitted to this pinion here with a very small teeth here, you can see. And this permits the rotation of this shaft here. And here we have the sensing element. So this is obviously, one more time, an LVDT sensor. Okay, so this is passive stuff. So this is why we have only 5 terminals. So we have 2 for an excitation and 3 probably for the measurement. And here we have an adjustment. So we can see that we have one resistor here, which is connected to the green wire here. Okay, so the green wire is connected to something inside. I didn't see, but we have something inside. It is maybe a small motor. Actually, I saw that it was a passive stuff, but actually it is maybe a motor here with a demultiplication maybe inside, and this is a zero detector. I'm not sure. It's difficult to see inside. This is strange. So obviously the zero detector here is formed by these 3 coils. So the excitation coil is this one with the red and brown wires, which are connected directly here on 2 terminals. And then we have the sensing element. We can see that the 2 coils are connected in series in opposition because these yellow wires are connected together here. So we have only these 2 white wires. One is coded with this red tube here, and they are connected here to 2 terminals here. So we can see also that one is in common. So the yellow wire of the excitation is common to one terminal, and this is normal. It is a ground. Okay, so we have another terminal here with this resistor, which is connected to the green wire here. Sorry, So this resistor is connected to the green wire here. So this resistor, the value we can see is 220 ohms here. And this resistor is connected to the green wire, which is connected to something inside. So we have an LVDT sensor with one excitation coil. So we have a brown terminal and a red terminal. And we have two measurement coils, okay, which are connected in series. These are the two yellow wires here. And then we have the white wires. So we have one white with a red tube here. I will change the orientation of the camera. We'll make a small zoom. Okay. So we have the white and red here. And the other one is the white. Okay, and this goes to the connector here. Okay, so the small white is in the center, so this is the orange actually. So this is connected to the orange. It will be useful when we will test this thing. There is another wire in common here. So this one is connected to the yellow wire. Okay. So the yellow wire here, you can follow this thing. So it is connected here, and this is one of the excitation coil. Hello, sorry, it is not the excitation coil. It is this thing inside. So the yellow. I said yes with the other white here. So we have here. We have a yellow, which is connected to something. The other wire of this thing is a green wire here. Okay, and this green wire is connected to the resistor, which is 220 ohms. And this resistor is connected to the green wire. Okay, so now we have the sensing element. So the sensing element, we have sorry, the excitation coil of the LVDT sensor. So this is the brown and the red wires here. So both are fed into this tube. So we have another brown which comes from here. So this is the red. So the red terminal here, this red wire, is connected to the brown here, and the brown is connected to this point. Okay, so we have here is a small brown wire here, and this is connected to one terminal of the excitation coil, and the second one is connected to this resistor here. So we have a resistor of, I cannot see, 820 ohms. Okay, and this resistor is connected to two wires. One is a potentiometer here. One goes to the potentiometer. Potentiometer, the value is 5 kilo ohms. And the second wire of the potentiometer is the orange wire. Okay, and the orange wire is connected to the brown terminal, the first one. Okay. So this terminal, orange or red, I cannot see really, and this is the brown. Okay, brown, so this is also a brown. And we have another one, it is the red of the excitation. So the red of the excitation goes also to this point here. Okay, so this is the second red. Okay, so this is the schematics of this thing. So obviously this thing just an adjustment of the voltage here. Because if it was a servo system, it was not necessary to adjust the voltage across this coil. So this is for the adjustment, I think, of this thing, but I don't know the purpose of this thing. And we can measure the resistance, for example, of this strange stuff here with these two wires. We make a zoom out. The light is not very perfect here, I think. So I will measure the resistance between these two wires here. So between this green wire here and the other one is the yellow, which is connected also on this, yes, the yellow, which is connected here. It is difficult to access here. But the yellow, you need to push a little bit this tube. So this has a resistance of 160 ohms. Obviously this is not a switch because we have a resistance here. And as we have nothing connected here, it is really the resistance of this thing. Okay, I will try to apply a DC voltage first. We'll apply a voltage of 20 volt DC. There is a movement. It's a kind of electromagnet. It's difficult to see. I will try to show you with I will increase the zoom here. I will try to apply a DC voltage here. Okay, so you can see that we have a movement of this small metallic piece here. I don't know exactly what is the purpose of this thing. It seems this is a kind of a brake, because this thing turns with the sensor here. Let me see. Okay, I think I understand. Okay, I have understood this. I will make a zoom. This is actually a clutch, an electromagnetic clutch. I will try to change the light one more time. Okay, so the rotation of the shaft when the pressure changes, depending on the altitude, you will have a change of this thing. And you can see, when I try to turn this thing, you can see the rotation also of this metallic disc. So when a voltage is applied to these terminals, this metallic thing will be applied on the metallic disc and make the linkage between the rotation of the axis and this measurement coil. Okay, and this permits to activate the measurement. This is similar to the various altimeter transducers that we have already seen. This permits to have a relative measurement if the electromagnetic clutch is released. Actually, it is in this case. So you have this spring here, which permits to center the measurement in the middle here. So the measurement is close to 0. This is maybe not the case at present. We can see that it is maybe not centered, so maybe there is an adjustment for that. But when the clutch is engaged, this metallic thing is connected mechanically to the measurement, and in this case, the coils will measure the relative altitude of the aircraft. Okay, so we can try to engage the clutch. Okay, so I will connect the wires in order to activate the clutch. So I will connect the clutch through a switch here. So I will connect this one to the green. So the green is this one here. Yes, and the second one is the yellow. So the yellow will connect this one. So the yellow is just beside this one. So this should be this one here. So I don't know exactly the voltage required for this purpose, but I will apply 20 volts and this should be okay. Okay, so the clutch is activated here. Okay, so when the clutch is not engaged, if I change the position of the pressure, nothing happens. But if I activate the clutch, normally, okay, so you can see that we have a measurement of the position. But if I turn off the clutch, it returns to the middle position. In this case, the measurement is 0. Okay, so it is another system in order to measure a relative position. We have seen a different, at least two of them. So the last one was a Sfena transducer of 1963, if I remember correctly. And the previous one was an old transducer also. I don't remember the manufacturer, but it was also a mechanical stuff in order to place the measurement in middle position. This is another system which is maybe less accurate because it depends on the position of this thing, and the position of the moving core depends on the spring, and the adjustment is provided, I didn't say, using these two screws which permits the rotation of this bar here. So this permits to change the position, the static position of this of the coupling, the metallic coupling stuff here, in order to balance the voltages on the two secondaries here. So I think we can close this instrument and make a test using an air pressure. So I think first we can make a test using an AC signal to see the behavior of the LVDT sensor. So we'll try to make a measurement. So we'll connect a function generator with an amplifier in order to activate the excitation voltage here. So this is the excitation. So this will be connected to an amplifier at this point, for example. The input of the amplifier will be connected to a function generator with a sine signal at 400 Hz. Okay, so this will be connected to the ground. So for the measurement, I will use a lock-in amplifier here. So the lock-in amplifier permits to measure a signal with a given frequency. So you have a needle here, which is centered to 0, and the voltage measured can be positive or negative depending to the phase of the signal relative to a reference. So you have to input a reference here in this terminal, which is called ref, which will be an output of the function generator. So there will be here the lock-in amplifier with a reference voltage which comes from the function generator, the square wave at 400 Hz. And this will be connected to the signal here. The second one will be connected to the ground also. Okay, and this one will be connected through a switch to a power supply. So normally when the switch is not activated, that is to say when the clutch is not activated, we should have a voltage which is close to 0 here, whatever the altitude is. And when the clutch is engaged, in this case, this you have here the metal core here, which can move. When the clutch is activated. Okay, so let's do this measurement. So I have prepared some wires here. So first I will connect the excitation, so I need the amplifier, so I will use my small amplifier. I don't know the voltage necessary for the excitation here, but I will apply voltage, the maximum voltage which can be delivered by this amplifier, which is 25 volt peak. So this will give something like 10 volt RMS. I think this will be enough, I think. Okay, so the input of the amplifier will be connected to a function generator. So I will use, I have several ones. So I will use my Rohde & Schwarz here. I will first connect the trigger output of the function generator to the reference input of the lock-in amplifier here. I will set the frequency to 400 Hz, obviously. Okay, a sine signal. I don't need an offset. So amplitude I will set to 1 volt, for example. Okay, so I need to activate the trigger. I don't know if it is. Yes, it is activated because no, it is untrigged. So I will activate the trigger. Yes, we need to activate the output. So now I have to connect the output of the function generator to the amplifier. Okay, so I will change the position of this thing in order to see the lock-in amplifier at the same time. So here we have the 0 normally, but it is not 0 and it is also unstable. I don't know why. We can try to measure also with the oscilloscope. Since we have a contact problem because here the clutch is activated or not if I move this thing. Yes, so this green wire obviously is disconnected first. And the green wire, well, this is just the clutch. Okay, so we can see now that this seems to work. Okay, if I try to change the position of this thing, you can see that we have a signal and it seems centered. We have a minimum signal here, but this is very small. So we can see the result on the lock-in amplifier. It is much better because we don't take into account the noise. The lock-in amplifier is only sensitive to the frequency which is used at its reference. So I can activate the clutch now. Okay, you can see that we have a measurement. It is not central to 0. I will check the lock-in amplifier first. Normally it should be to 0. Yes, so we have a small error, but we can see that this thing is not centered, so maybe this is the explanation. It is more on the left here, because if I change a little bit here, yes, okay, so normally it is very sensitive, maybe 1 millimeter on the diameter here. We can try to readjust this thing. Normally, yes, okay. I will increase the sensitivity. It's very sensitive and difficult to adjust, but okay. Yes, and when you try to tighten this thing can change also a little bit. It's an effect of this screwdriver of my pliers, which is an effect because I disturb the magnetic flux around these coils, so it makes an unbalance between these two induced voltages here. Okay. Okay, so this thing is repaired and readjusted. So what I will do now, I will replace the cover, and we can make some tests using a negative air pressure. So now we need to apply a pressure. Okay, so I will use the same adapter than last time. This permits to use 6 mm plastic tube. As last time, I will use this thread sealant. And now we'll use the hot glue here. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so we have 200 millibars. So we'll disengage the clutch now, using this switch. Okay, so you can see that it returns to the normal position, close to 0. I'll make a zoom on this thing, on the result. Okay, so I will increase the pressure. And this, yes, because the clutch is not activated. Okay, so I will activate the clutch now. Okay, and now I will increase the pressure. It goes on the other direction. I will change the phase of this thing. Okay, so I can add 180 degrees here. Okay, then we will have the same direction than the air pressure. So I will remove the clutch. It returns to the normal position, more or less. I can adjust the 0 normally, so I will set this to 0, it will be better. Okay. I have a 0 here, so I can make an offset on this thing. Okay, so it is 0. And then if I increase the pressure, yes, the clutch is not activated. I activate the clutch now. And if I increase the pressure, okay, it will go on maximum here, go to position number 2. I will turn off the clutch. Okay, I will turn on again, and I will decrease the air pressure now. Okay. We can see that we have a measurement around a given altitude, which is given by activating the clutch. Okay, so the clutch here is activated, so I will deactivate the clutch. Okay, so I have a pressure here of minus 0.2 bars, that is to say an absolute pressure of 0.8 bars. So according to this table, we have already seen, for this air pressure, we have an altitude, a corresponding altitude of 6,000 feet. So let's see the altitude range we have for a full deviation scale of the sensor. So the full deviation is 1.5 on this scale here. So I will increase the pressure in order to have a deviation of 1.5 on this galvanometer, and we will note the air pressure, and then we can see the corresponding altitude. So I will activate the clutch. This is done. So I will increase the pressure in order to have a 1.5 on the galvanometer. So this is somewhere here. And we can see that we have an increase, a negative increase of pressure of, here we have 0.22 bars. This means an air pressure of 780 millibars. And we can see that for 780 millibars we have 7,000, sorry, we can see that for 780 millibars we have an altitude of 7,000 feet. So this provides a deviation of 1,000 feet, but of course it depends on the altitude because it is not linear, because as the altitude increases the variation of pressure decreases, because for example from 24,000 feet to 25,000 feet you have a variation here of approximately 15 millibars or something like that. 15 millibars, and here we have 20 millibars. So roughly the range of this thing is plus minus 1,000 feet around the altitude it was when the clutch was engaged. We can see that when we return to minus 0.2 bars, it returns to 0, and normally if I decrease the pressure to the same amount, which is something here, you can see that the deviation is the same in the negative side. So it is symmetrical around the nominal position. Okay, so this thing works. It is a transducer which permits to have relative altitude measurement. The scale is about plus or minus 1,000 feet. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.